Hi, everyone. Welcome to day 2 of the Brandwise Evolved Conference. Before we get this started, let's do some housekeeping. If you can see the screen and hear me okay, please confirm that by typing something in the chat window. You guys are used to this. Christine from LA, Andy, San Francisco, Minnesota. You can hear me well. Thank you, Landon. Everyone's looking so good. You're right, Sandy. They sure are. These Brandwise men clean up nice. All right, Dallas, South Carolina, Maryland, Seattle, South Dakota. Awesome. So it sounds like everybody can hear. You'll notice that you're muted right now, so we'll keep you muted throughout the presentation. If you have questions, there is a questions pane where you can type those in, but we're likely going to leave most questions until the end since there's so much to cover today. If the GoToWebinar panel is hiding too much on your screen, there's a little red arrow button that you can click that's going to hide the panel so you can see most of your screen as we go throughout this. Looks like we've got about 70 folks on now. Good morning, Randy, Vegas, Vancouver, awesome, over the border. Okay, well, I think we're about ready to get started then.
Yeah, we'll probably, hey Iris, it's Todd. We'll probably wait a couple of minutes, get a few more people on. I just want to let everybody know that we have a ton to cover in this particular webinar. So we're going to do our best to get everything crammed into 59.5 minutes. But the group can stay on after that. So if there's additional questions or things that you want to ask specifically once we get through it, then we have time at the end of it to stay on and answer questions, but there's a lot of stuff to cover with what we've done and what's coming. So be prepared, put your seatbelt on. There'll be a lot of information flowing from these gentlemen today. But we'll give it a minute or so, Dylan, then you can give the go.
And excuse me if you hear dogs in the background, although Keith is at the office in Lakewood, Colorado, so that's pretty exciting. We'll do introductions here in a moment, but I can hear my cat trying to help me present right now. So you may hear dogs or cats or maybe even kids in the background. So as you know, we're all working from home these days. So thank you for giving us on that one. My cat, especially this morning, is pretty crazy. It's a sunny day out though here in Colorado. We did get some snow recently, but unfortunately, it's all melting now. I think I'm the only one on this call that would say unfortunately. Most of the Brandwise folks don't want that snuff here. It's funny.
All right, should we kick her off?
Let's do it.
I think so.
All right, far away, Dylan. I'm gonna switch presenters in quick.
Hopefully this is the right screen. Cool, all right. So hello, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us today. Day 2, session 1 of the Evolved Conference. And today we will be covering play and what all is coming with that and what we have done in the last year. It's actually quite crazy. So today's session will be hosted by me, Dylan Womack, product owner here at Brandwise, primarily for the 1.0 stuff. I also have Keith Weiss, our senior iOS developer, and Derek Andrews, our QA guru and junior iOS developer. And yes, QA guru is an actual job. So our agenda that we'll be covering today, while it may look small, I promise it is a lot of content. So first we have some play statistics that we'll take a quick look at. We have 12 months of Brandwise, the greatest hits, and we have the future of Play for iPad 2021 at a glance. So jumping into some play statistics, currently for this year, there are 4,831 active iPad users out there, which is, that's crazy, that's a huge number. So that's a lot of people using the application, a lot of people we're servicing. So looking at some statistics, specifically as it pertains to third quarter in this year. So we have, sorry, I don't know what's going on here. Come on. Okay. So third quarter, I believe those of you that were on the presentation yesterday saw some of this information on the right-hand side. Obviously, shows took a hit this year, but it's actually quite amazing how road sales are almost flat while a little under from what it was last year. That says a lot about the road business and what's going on. So road orders this year, which you can see from that bottom section of the table, are actually up 31% on iPads over last year. So a lot more people are capturing orders out on the go from their iPads and really pushing those road sales to make up for what was lost in the shows. And astonishingly, the average road order size actually went up from $874 last year to $1,094. And when you're doing a comparison on the line items sold, and I'm sure most of you will find this, a lot of retailers are buying more of what's selling. So it's pretty amazing to look at, and it's inspiring that you guys are out there busting your butts to make the sales and get the retailers get them selling stuff as well. So October to October, last year to this year, I think this is the first for Brandwise history, but we've actually introduced 43 new features and we've fixed 25 bugs. So for the first time, we've actually introduced more than bugs that we've introduced and had to fix. So that says a lot about the change in process and how we're making sure it's quality before we're releasing it. So without further ado, let's just jump into the new CD by Brandwise, the greatest hits. So 12 months Brandwise. So October of 2019, we introduced order history in the digital catalogs. So with that, basically, prior to October, we had released the line item history. So when you were scanning products, you would get that little tidbit of information on the scan screen and the scan cell, and that would just help you kind of upsell or whatever. And I think it might have been somebody on the insiders, but there was a great suggestion to put some kind of thing into the digital catalogs so that if you're going through a flip book with a customer, you still have that opportunity to upsell or, to say, hey, it looks like you've ordered this item for, did you want to go ahead and throw that on your order? Kind of, suggestively sell things to them and help the order process. You'll also see that if you open up the sidebar, we indicate the items that had history with the little history tag. And then on top of this, kind of as a bonus feature, we were also able to get kind of Derek likes to refer to it as a legend or a key, but also like, giving you the control of what hotspots you want to show. So rather than just saying, oh, I want to see hotspots or I don't want to see hotspots, maybe you don't want the inactive products to be seen. So you can go ahead and turn those off and just kind of cater your presentation for your retailer. So, all right.
So Dylan, I have a question for you. So this is kind of like a fun fact, I think, for Todd. Can you give us a quick idea of when Play was born? I know that Brandwise went through a little bit of a rebrand, but can you give a little bit of history on Play really quick?
So while I saw that question pop up, I asked Janetta, who's sitting behind me, when did we first release Play? And she's like, what? I think we have been, Keith, how long have you been with Brandwise?
7 years now.
So
no, maybe going on my 8th.
Okay, so 10 years is probably about the time we at least released Play for iPad. Obviously the Play for PC, which was Show'em Elite prior to that's been around forever, 23 years, but iPad, I think we're 10 years into.
Thank
Awesome.
you. Just a quick fun fact for you guys.
Yep.
Yeah, great history lesson there. All right, so November 2019, we introduced collections. So collections was really something that, in my opinion, was really long overdue. So I know a lot of you probably have or had orders that you would create that would kind of always be like your go-to of items. So whether it was bestsellers or products you would always lead with an appointment and stuff like that. And you may name like the PO number something specific or give it an order name and all that. It wasn't the best way because those orders sit in your system, they can affect your numbers, and it's really just not the way to manage that kind of stuff. So we introduced collections. So collections, basically you're in present product, you'll see there's a new collections button at the bottom. Go ahead and add some products into your presentation basically. So I've added some blankets here. So I want to go ahead and create a new collection. So you'll see when you tap collections, I have 3 previous collections. So I have kids, I have lunch totes, and I have women's tops. If I click the plus in the top right, I can go ahead and name my new collection. So I'm going to call it blankets and hit save. And now I have all 10 of those blankets that were in my presentation right here in my collection. So I don't have to save an order with those. I don't have to keep those in my presentation. I can now go and even create another collection if I wanted to, or even quickly add these into an order. And we have further added to this, and I will address that later.
Dylan, it's important to know that that heart that's there does not delete it from the collection. All it really does is it removes it from the collection that you're building. So like you can use collections to build other collections. And by picking those hearts, you're basically saying, I want that on the screen when I'm done with my collection. If you take the heart off, then it will remove it from there. But there is a way to actually delete items from the collection as well. And it will actually give you a trash can icon, which then you'll be more clear to you that you are deleting the product instead of just adding it or removing it from the collection that you have.
Thank you, Keith. Yes, you can edit the collections afterwards. It's not stuck in time with the way it is when you created it. So it is important to note. So thank you, Keith. All right, so December 2019, rounding out last year. So we kind of did an add-on to the new dashboard we had introduced right before the conference, I believe. So one thing that we've heard time and time again, and I would like to say we're doing better at it, and this is definitely helping us, is we didn't have a great way of communicating changes to really anybody. I mean, we'd put release notes out there, we'd have changes, we'd be working with customers, or even at last year's conference, Keith and Derek demoed a bunch of awesome stuff that we'd had for a little bit of time, and a lot of it was new to the users at the conference. So we wanted to come up with a better way to service you guys while you're out on the road, and give you the information at your fingertips. So as you may or may not have noticed prior to this conference, I think it was last Thursday, we actually have the ability now to swap out any of these icons on the dashboard without requiring you to do an upgrade. I should also note that this is scrollable. So while there's only 4 really main icons on the dashboard right now, there's room for more in the future. And if you didn't happen to notice, or you haven't logged into your iPad in a little bit, that middle icon was swapped out to basically bring awareness to this conference and allow you to register right from your iPad. So that was pretty cool. And again, it didn't require an upgrade to do so. All right, top of the year, January 2020, we introduced a huge feature that has long been a thing on the iPad, on the PC, sorry, but we finally decided to take it to the iPad, as that's what I feel like a lot of our users are gravitating towards more. So basically, the supplier dashboard, it gives you all of the information you would need regarding your suppliers right with the tap of a finger, basically. The really great piece is, by default, when you launch the supplier dashboard, it gives you all the active promotions that are running for the suppliers that you represent. So that really allows you to take a quick glance at that, and then you may know, okay, when I'm in with this appointment, I can, if they're going to write this order, I can tell them about this promotion, or I can try to get them to, write this specific line that they've been on the fence with because they have maybe a free freight promotion. So it's really great that we put that right at your fingertips. You don't have to dig for it. And this is accessible from almost anywhere in the application. Now that's just the promotions piece. Now, if I tap suppliers, I also am able to go and look at any of the supplier information that the back office has put into the system. So you'll see here at a glance, it's all the vendors alphabetically. You have the minimum order and reorder amounts. So that's almost just for a quick reference. Now, if you're needing to get a little bit more information, you can tap on a vendor in the list, and you'll be taken to this beautiful screen. So you have their address information, you have their main contact, their phone number, their website, email address, all that stuff. And then at the bottom there, you have a bunch of sections. So it's really great because you can see what credit cards they accept, you can see what shipping methods and payment terms they offer. Again, you can look at any of those promotions. So maybe you just want to look at that specific supplier, you can do that in here. If you want to get their contacts, so maybe it's the customer service team or the sales manager or whatever, you can come in here, you can get that phone number, and even if your iPad is connected to your phone, you can dial it to your phone and make the phone call. So it's all pretty integrated. If you have any programs, you can go view those, product lines, vendor notes, and as well as the order statement that appears when you print out the order. So there's a lot of powerful information in there. And if you weren't aware of it, I highly suggest you start using it.
Yeah, one of the underlying things that you'll see here is that the orange elements in the app are meant to declare that icons or text are interactive. So you'll see the phone number, the email address, the URL. These things can be tapped directly from this screen and launch you right into whatever you're after, just to save you time and make it easier. In addition to being a great resource for reps and order takers, the screen is also a great tool for admins. You're able to quickly tap across suppliers using the arrows in the top right part of the screen there. And whatever tab you have selected, like let's say you had order info, promotions, or order statement selected, as you tab through the suppliers, that selection will persist. So you can really quickly and easily go through and just make sure that your suppliers are set up how they should be and how you expect them to be.
What I'm really excited about with this particular project was we were finally able to use a new feature that Apple has presented last year at the summer conference they have, and it's called Swift UI. And from Apple's website, Swift UI allows you to write better code faster. And we were able to do this with better code and faster. We have a lot more animation in there. It supports light and dark mode out of the box. It supports all of the resizing capabilities. So if you can't see it too well, you can zoom in on it using your accessibility settings and so forth. But it was very quick to actually implement, and it was very little testing that actually went into it because it either works or it doesn't work. And so there are plenty of features that use this new exciting technology, and we'll point them out perhaps the rest of the conference. But the idea is that we are able to add some new features faster than we've ever been able to before, and with less testing.
Awesome.
Exactly.
Thank you, guys.
Key piece.
We're getting a few questions regarding the screen. I know right now that this information needs to be maintained by the back office for who handles the iPad or who manages their Play for iPad. But can you guys speak a little bit too about this future functionality and how suppliers may be able to populate this information in the future?
Yeah,
Todd,
so
do you want
I'll
to take
talk
that
a little
one?
bit to that. So there's certain elements, and we'll kind of talk briefly about it. I don't want to take too much out of the rest of it, but the supplier specific stuff like payment methods, promotions, payment terms, all the types of things now that a supplier sends to the agency and the agency admin goes in and keys into their Play system, those will become elements of the supplier passport. And we're going to go into that in this afternoon session a little bit more about the supplier dashboard, where we're adding more and more to that, where we'll just allow the suppliers to put information like that into their passport, which will then populate their agency systems or their own Play systems. But it will take a little bit of that admin away from the necessity of the agency to do it and make it more dynamic. So that more and more of that will come as part of Passport.
Awesome. Thank you. We're just getting quite a few questions on that, so wanted coverage.
Sure.
All right, cool. Thank you. All right, sorry. Moving on to February and March. And Todd's going to be doing the speaking on this as it's his baby. But we introduced the huge splash of Vision for iPad 360.
We're going to see how well Dylan clicks as I'm speaking. So what you're looking at right now is the customers near me. So if you've used this tool and you noticed on the initial dashboard, there was a map dashboard and then there was a Vision 360 dashboard. But the idea here is that you can see that my distance in miles is 5 and my include prospects is false. So I've got green, red, in this case, yellow and gold pins, which I'll give you an explanation of what they mean. But these are basically customers that have purchased from me in the trailing 18 months. Because I have prospects turned off, I'm not seeing people that haven't purchased from me. So that's what this map is, and it allows you to drill into different sections.
Yes, and I believe we have Dave Clark from DARA on this conference, and he's an avid user and an Avid Insiders user as well. And I believe he just wanted to speak very briefly about how this has helped him as he's heading back out on the road and opening up shop again.
Yeah, I mean, I use it all the time just to find people, get through an appointment early. You're in a town, you don't know where you are. Hey, Keith, you just go on there and you can always find somebody you didn't know about or you knew about and had in the back of your mind. And just, it's a good reminder. Oh, I need to swing by this person. And yeah, so it's a good thing. This is the most exciting part of the whole deal for me. Just hands down. So
awesome.
Thank you, Dave.
That's great. Thanks, Dave. And before you move on, so if you can go back up one, the pins, kind of what Dave was talking about. If we had include prospects as true, you'd have blue pins on there as well. And what that's going to be are customers that are in retailers that are in your territory or assigned to you that you haven't sold in the last 18 months. So it's going to give you an idea of these are people I'm working with, and to Dave's point, oh, well, these are people I didn't realize were there or I haven't visited for a long time. So it gives you the best of both worlds. So that's customers near me. The next view that we're going to look at is the customer territory. So this is really what I'm looking at here is all of my suppliers, as you can see by that, for all the states that I happen to have representation in where I've sold so far. So you're seeing I sold into Utah, Colorado, and Arizona, and you can probably guess that the green states are better than the red states. Nothing to do with politics, all to do with sales. So what you can do from there is you can drill into anything. So if I want to drill into a state, I simply tap on it, and it's going to take me into the counties. And you're going to see yellow, red, green as far as it goes here, where green is good, yellow's mediocre, and red is bad. So I've got good and mediocre counties. I can click into a county, and it will take me into the zip codes for that particular county. Same color codes. So I've got good counties, and I've got one bad county. But if I click on zip codes, if I click on one of the zip codes now, it's going to give me that same zip code representation or pin representation we had from the customers near me, but within that zip code. So you can see I've got green and yellow pins. Those pins now represent a retailer. So if I tap on a pin, it's going to give me the detail. Yep.
Really quick before we tap on a pin, a rep that actually just started using this and actually has a very unique use case for this specific report is Wendy Siegmeyer from Nest. And I believe she just wanted to mention how she uses this report in the field.
Perfect.
Hi, guys. So for me, I'm in a lot of territory that there's no cell signal. So this has really helped me immensely because not only in the planning stages, but if you put your finger on it and you just kind of slide it a little bit, you can now add that to your photo, you can copy it, or I can share it right to my phone. So the information is there, but I also can take it, send it to my phone so I have this information even when I don't have service. So it's because I'm like in South Dakota and Montana, Wyoming, I have a lot of areas where I don't have any cell signal. So this has been huge for me to have this, and this extra piece to be able to save it has just made a huge difference.
Thank you, Wendy.
Awesome. Thanks, Wendy. And just before you move on, Dylan, so there's a couple different places I'll show you to what Wendy said. So that little disk in the middle next to page width, that little floppy disk, that Keith and I know what that is. The other guys probably don't know what it is. We didn't explain it to them. But that gives you all the different ways you can save this screen or export it to your phone or do whatever you want to do with it from just the screen level. Then we'll get into the pins and I'll show you a little bit more detail. But if you tap on a pin, it's going to take you into the detail information behind that for that particular retailer. So the Columbine is the customer I'm looking at. And what you can see there very briefly is information about them, email, phone number, and then their last year order total, current year sales order count, total suppliers they purchased from, and their last order date. But from there, you can drill in further. So if you click on that Google icon on the left, that's actually, as long as you have a Wi-Fi connection on your iPad or it's connected to your phone, it's actually going to give you the route to that particular retailer, and you can go ahead and click on the directions and let your iPad talk to you, or you can click that send directions to your phone, and now you can use your phone to get directions to that retailer. So kind of to Dave's point about being able to go, oh, I didn't realize I had that retailer. Now you can get directions to that retailer. And to Wendy's point, you can push it to your phone before you go out so that you've got directions if you need them that way. So kind of a cool way to do that. So that's the Google aspect of it. You can also go in to the little graph piece there, which is going to give you basically the Vision 360 dashboard. So that's going to give you the supplier history on the left side, your top suppliers by revenue on the right side, any reach orders that you have, any future shipments that you have, and then invoice information, which is under shipped. If you tap on any of those, it will take you down into a detail level. So in this case, future order report. So this is showing my orders with a future ship date. And you can tell that we did this presentation back in May, but this would have something that was in the future, which is highlighted there. And it gives you the image information as well for both the sales rep and your retailers. If you use that floppy disk again, you can export this out and email it directly to your retailer in any of these formats. And those image icons stay active so that when your retailer gets it, they can tap the image and it will give them an image they can download to use for social media or use in their email campaigns, use on their websites. Really, really excellent capability that has there. And you can just hit that up arrow and share it like you would with anything else on the iPad. It's pretty slick. Then the last piece that's on here is the little factory button. That's going to give you a summary of the different suppliers that this retailer's purchased from. Again, in the last 13 months. So you can see it's trailing 13 months. So in this case, only one supplier, what their order total was, how many orders they placed, how many last year, and what their last order date was. So really good information at your fingertips.
Thank you, Todd. And then just regarding the pins.
Yep. So again, what I mentioned was pin, the colors. So colors on the map or colors on the pins. Green means that you're even or up with that retailer in that area year over year. Yellow means that you're either down or with that retailer or down in that area between 1 and 20% year over year. Red means that you're down with that retailer or within that area over 20% year over year. Gold means, so with the gold pin, and you may have seen one of those, gold pins you're going to see a lot of if you're selling into a strip mall or in a mall or in an area with a lot of retail activity. What that gold pin does is let you tap on it to see all of the retailers underneath it. So it gives you a grid view because there's too many pins in one location. And then finally, the blue pin has to do with retailers. You won't see this on the map, but you'll see it on the pin level that have not purchased with you in the last 26 months. Sorry, I said 18 months. So those are your prospects. You may have sold to them a long time ago, or you may have never sold to them, but they're assigned to you and they're still active in your system. So they're worth calling on, seeing if they're still there, reintroducing your brands to them, all that type of stuff. So really great stuff from the mapping.
Excellent. Thank you, Todd.
You bet.
All right. April of 2020. Whew, what a good one this is. Go ahead, Callie.
Todd, can you tell us the most exciting thing about Vision for iPad 360 in terms of how the reps can have it and how long they're going to have it for?
Yeah, so one of the things that we did, and we talked about this a little bit in yesterday's session, is we were really excited about releasing Vision for iPad 360 earlier this year for a number of reasons. But as a company and as a business, it was a new feature that we expect to get revenue from down the road. But as we got into COVID and realized that Vision for iPad was really going to benefit the sales reps when they tried to get, as you guys are starting to get back into business and see where retailers are and really understand that, we provided it as a free trial. We're continuing that trial period through March of 2021. And we'll see what happens in the world at that point. And if necessary, we'll continue that trial period. But we want to make sure that this tool in particular is available to you because we know the value that it has for the sales reps. And to the earlier points that Dylan made, we're seeing that the iPad is being used tremendously for sales right now, whether you're virtual or physical. So the vision piece is a critical part of that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep.
All right. So customer order history. So when we redesigned the customer screen and took it from the Stone Age into the New Age, we left a lot of the screen there strictly for price lists, which are great, and there are people that use price lists, but it's not a vast majority, and we want to put new features in that affect everybody because it benefits everybody. So we brainstormed some ideas, came up with some ideas on what we could also utilize this lower half of the screen for. So here comes order history. So by default, when you come into the customer screen and you pick a customer, it's going to pull any orders that are on your device for that specific customer. HFCs, confirmed, closed. We don't do canceled because there's not really any benefits to canceled orders. But you can also tap on more orders. And what this does, it's very similar to the find orders screen. So you'll notice that this row that I have highlighted with the heart, it has a little cloud underneath the order total. That's basically just indicating that this order is not actually on the device, but I'm still able to retrieve the items from that order and add them to my new order that I'm building right now if I wanted to do so, which is pretty freaking sweet. So you'll also notice that I can tap the heart next to the PO number, and that will give me every item that is on that specific order. Alternatively, I can also just select individual items from specific orders. If there's some here, some there that I wanted to add. You'll also notice that there's now that middle plus button where it says 6 items selected. And when I go ahead and press that, it's basically going to utilize our existing copy and paste mechanisms, but it's going to take all of those items that I selected from my customer order history, and it's going to put them into the new order for my customer, which is a great way to jumpstart something. Even if it's, if you're duplicating a previous order and maybe there's a few additions you want to do, this is much faster than having to look up the old order and duplicate it. or even then adding all the items manually and then adding the additions. So it's saving you a lot of time out on the road and really making your appointments more valuable or more efficient. So
we're really excited about
to
this
May.
technology because of, again, we were using new innovation for Brandwise. We have all of these web calls we were already making for the find order screen. And so we decided, hey, let's just put this in here. And we used Swift UI to build the UI, which was, faster, better, animations, plenty, those kinds of things. And so we were able to put this together really quickly. And that's a first since I've been here at Brandwise. And it required less testing because it's already been proven out. And so we're really excited about adding these kinds of features. And this came out of looking at the 360 reports. It was like, I don't have a way to actually just tap on a product and add it to my order. And correct me if I'm wrong here, Derek, but we can also do this not just from the first time you look at the customer, but you can go back and forth. If you want to go look for more products or more POs or whatever, you can go right back to the customer screen and select those POs that are relevant and add those products in addition. So it's using a whole bunch of tools that we already have.
Yeah, and in addition to that, we weren't really able to demo it, but the idea that you're not locked into just one previous order. You can go across order history and build up the order that you're after. So people that are frequently doing reorders, this is going to be a huge time saver. So we hope that it's well received and that people use it to its full potential there.
Thank you, guys. So moving on to May, and I should preface this with everything from this point on, because some of you may be saying, wow, this was May. How come I don't have this in my iPad yet? It is available as of now, and I believe Alex in support and myself are scheduling the release of this version for next week. So admins, check your emails for those, and reps be excited. So without further ado, May 2020, we introduced the new product search screen. Now, I know some of you may be freaking out in your heads. No, not a new search screen. There's no reason to reintroduce it. It's fine the way it is. So most of you should be familiar with this. This is the existing search screen as it is in the application now. And here is the new search screen. So as you can see, not much has changed fundamentally. The search bar went to the top rather than the middle. You still have your show inactive products and show all products. So we really didn't want to rip the rug out from underneath you. And I think that we really delivered on that. Now, the reason for this redesign was we wanted to further enhance collections. So rather than requiring you to be in presentation or present products to go into a collection, add those to an order, all that, we wanted to be able to insert those from within your order process. So you'll notice that there's also now a collections button or a option below. And if I tap on collections, you'll see that I have all my available collections, including the blankets collection I added previously. If I go ahead and tap on a collection, you'll notice now that it shows that I have the blankets collection added, and my supplier is limited to apparel supplier because that is what the products consist of in my collections. If I toggle on show all products, I now have all 10 of those blankets that I added to my collection, and I can easily just go in, and if there's 2 or 3 that this customer wants to order, I can go ahead and add those really quickly. It also supports collections that have products from multiple suppliers. So in this case, my kids collection, I have products in here from my apparel supplier and from my children's apparel supplier. So it will limit both to those suppliers. And again, show all products will show me all of the products across the different suppliers in there. So that's really, really powerful. A couple other enhancements we made to this screen was the catalog picker. The catalog picker before was basically just a list of the catalog names, so nothing too crazy there. The picker now looks exactly like this cell looks like. So it has the catalog name, it has a little digital catalog indicator, and it has a thumbnail of the catalog. So that is also really nice to have. So here I have the Spring 2019 apparel supplier catalog selected. And again, I can do show all products. It will limit all the products to this catalog, and I can easily go and add them. But wait, that's not all. If I tap on digital catalog it will take me straight into the digital catalog from the search screen. So I no longer have the need to go between search or scan into the catalogs tab just to go through a digital catalog. If you're working with a retailer, you know, maybe they've added a couple they want to know, but they want to go through the pages, you can seamlessly open up the catalog and go through it right there with them. So it's really powerful. Now, I should say that because we are introducing this new mechanism for you to access the digital catalogs, this will mean that eventually we will be getting rid of the catalog screen itself, as there won't really be a need for it. So moving forward, I would strongly suggest accessing the digital catalogs from this screen to become used to that for when we do eventually remove the catalogs tab by itself. All right, June 2020.
So one last thing I wanted to point
Keith.
out with that is that, again, this came out of what we demonstrated last show. When we had the last Evolve conference, we demonstrated a prototype app, and much of what you're seeing in that search screen came directly from that prototype app. So that's kind of a precursor of things yet to come. But I just wanted to point that out, that we actually made good on some of the promises that we showed last time in our demo, and we're planning on adding more, and this is part of the reason why we had to redevelop that screen. So hopefully it's not an interruption to anybody who's used it in the past. Derek actually thought that it would be best to put the search bar at the top. Why not? That's what we do a lot of times. And what's nice is if you select one of those catalogs or collection or anything and you do search, you'll search with that in mind. So it acts as a filter to your search as well. So once you've set that these particular suppliers are being limited by that option that you've selected, then it stays like that, and you can still search for other products inside that particular supplier. So this is going to become a big tool, and I think as you start using it and getting your hands on it, you're going to find it being very useful. Thanks, Dylan.
Thank you, Keith. All right, June 2020. I'll try to explain this the best I can. It seems like a mouthful in text, but basically we've always had a fundamental problem that I think has it's caused some hurdles for some of our multi-rep group agencies. So when you're out on the road and you're a sales rep, you cover a certain territory, maybe you cover a certain division, maybe you only sell apparel or toy, and other reps sell like gifts and they service the same territories. We didn't have a good way to limit the suppliers list when you were writing orders out on the road. So either you would have everything showing, or we would do some setup in our system and you would be limited to only those. Now, the problems that arose out of this was when it comes to show. When it comes to show, reps are each other's best friends. They need to be right with whoever comes in the showroom, and they need to be able to write any line that customer wants to write with, simply just to help out and cover everybody. So that previously mentioned setup was very difficult when it came to show mode, because we'd have to go through full installs and all sorts of stuff that was just entirely unnecessary, and there just had to be a better way to do it. So long story short, our catalog screen was actually the precursor to this. It had a way to limit based off the division, so it kind of had the smarts. So we basically further implemented on that. So again, without pulling the rug out from underneath you and causing any panic, we just kind of added it subtly, and I'm glad that we can address it here. So you'll see here in my info popover, I have a toggle at the very bottom that says my suppliers only, and I have road in parentheses. So right now I have it turned off. My system mode is road, and I'm going to go ahead and turn it on. So it just so happens that me, I'm the logged in rep, I only sell apparel. So I can sell apparel supplier and my children's apparel supplier. So you'll see that my suppliers filter inside the sales order is limited to those two suppliers. And again, if I go to the catalog screen, it's still limited to those two suppliers, and the only catalog available is that apparel supplier catalog. Now, for the exciting piece, without having to do a full install or add or remove rep groups and none of that craziness, you'll see here my system mode now shows show, and my suppliers only toggle is still turned on. Now when I go in to write a sales order and I go to my suppliers drop down or filter, you can see that I have every supplier that's in my system available to go search for. So it really makes the transition between road and show seamless. while enforcing the territory rules on the road and allowing everybody to join as one during shows.
And this functionality will also take into account the hard-coded suppliers and hard-coded divisions on the customer record. And as Dylan said, this is a soft launch of this feature, so you do have to opt into it on each device. Our hope is that people will try it out, verify that it works, let us know if it is what you're after, and if it is, then eventually we can change the default setting to be true, and then you won't need to worry about setting it on each device. But as Dylan pointed out, we did not want to interrupt the selling process, especially during this critical time. So we've tried to make it as least inefficient as possible. So
great. And I think you got a woohoo with, I think, 8 oohs from Angela Schmuck. So there's your first reaction.
Awesome. Yeah, we have history on this, so I'm sure she's happy about that.
All right.
All right.
And I want to point out that Derek did the work on this. So we got to give a little bit of a round of applause to Derek. I know I can't hear it, but it's important. He's been doing a great job with a lot of these small little features that need to be handled. So thanks, Derek.
Takes a village. Thanks, Derek.
Thank you, Keith. All right. July of 2020, not too long ago. So our theme, or one of our themes from the Evolve conference, was one screen to rule them all. So now we have one app to rule them all. So I'm sure there's many of you on this call that know exactly what a side-by-side is. And it's basically, if there's reps that they represent multiple agencies, they need to have the ability to have both applications on their iPad. Right now, there are 2 entirely separate apps, and they have to be maintained separately. So usually the upgrades go seamless for Play for iPad, and if it's a specific agency's side-by-side, here's a link, install it, okay, it's upgraded. It's not very seamless, and it's difficult to manage. There's just a lot of downsides to the way we were doing it, and it was limited to how many we could create. So we wanted to remove all that, and it was quite the hurdle, but we did it. So you'll see here that this is a new login screen. Yes, another new screen. I promise you it's not much different. And actually, there's more benefits to this screen. So as you can see, without me having to log in, I can see when my last sync was. So I can see it was 7 minutes ago. I can see my system mode. I can see my default sales location. I can even check my version without having to log in, which is pretty awesome. You'll also notice that there's now a plus next to Brandwise Sales Demo. So if I go ahead and tap that plus, it's going to give me a little spiel on what a license is, in case you're wondering, and it just kind of gives you that breakdown. But it also allows me to add a new license. So you'll see that button there. Again, it's orange, so I can tap on it. And everybody's familiar with this screen. This is the install screen. You open up the new app, you put in your license information. The only difference is I have a cancel button. So maybe I wanted to add a new license and then changed my mind for whatever reason, I can cancel out of this. Now, if I actually did enter my new license information and do the install, you'll now see that I have Showroom Solutions listed as my agency license. Again, I have my last synced information, all that information on the right-hand side. The plus is now gone though. So if I do tap on Showroom Solutions, I now have a list of my licenses that I have in this single application. Now, we do allow you to add more, so you'll see there is still an add license button, and if you were to tap that, it would take you through the same flow we just went through. Alternatively, if you no longer represent a certain supplier or you don't work for an agency anymore as a sales rep, you can tap the little trash can icon on the bottom right, and that will allow you to delete a license from your application. So again, really seamlessly getting everything into one app and really eliminating the need to even delete, reinstall, all that stuff. So it's really awesome. Another benefit, which I think I'll let Derek speak on, is the settings.
Yeah, if you're not familiar with these settings, previously they lived inside of the iPad settings menu. So you would have to navigate out of our app and into the native iOS settings in order to see any of these. So if you are familiar with them, you'll notice that we've organized them a little bit differently. But if you're not familiar with this, really take a look when you get the new version, especially if you're somebody that finds yourself frequently setting the default or I'm sorry, the sort order or the grouping options when you print or share sales orders. These things will save you a lot of time if you fall into those camps. So the idea here is that we wanted to put this front and center, allow you to set it either for your single standalone install, or if you have multiple side-by-sides, you can set it globally, or you can set it for each individual install. So this is really a powerful tool if you find yourself customizing these things frequently. The other nice feature that was hidden away from most people, you can set the default number of days for your find orders. So that's something that we use a lot in testing. You may or may not find it useful, but take a look at these and see if any of these things might benefit you and increase your efficiency and your ability to use the app.
And hey, Dylan, can you go back one screen and show how you access that?
Yes, I apologize. Thank you, Todd. So you'll see here that on the login screen, I have the little settings cog in the top right, so above like last synced and all that. And when I tap on that, that's what opens up this dialog here. So when I hit done, I would be taken back to the login screen. Thank you, Todd.
Yep.
And thank you, Derek. All right, sorry, moving along. So August 2020, another quality of life improvement to the application, I feel. So we didn't have a great way for you to manage your retailer's credit card. So if your retailer called you or emailed you and said, hey, this card number, it's expired, please remove it, or it got compromised, please remove it. You had to go find a previous sales order or go start a new sales order, add an item, finish the order, just to get to the credit card menu to either add the new one that they maybe provided you or delete existing cards. So again, improving on our customer screen that we've buffed up a little bit, we now also have a credit cards toggle. So you'll see here that I have 4 active credit cards for this customer branches, and there's a delete button. So in case somebody accidentally taps on delete, we don't just delete it and sorry, you lost. We do give you a prompt. So if you tap delete, we'll prompt you, are you sure you want to delete? In this case, I'm going to delete my MasterCard that ends in 5400. And when I delete it, it's gone from the list. I should also include that for the keen eyes, right above that Visa at the top, on the right-hand side, there's an add card button. So you can also add a new card from the screen without having to go into an order. Now, this will add for like our default payment gateway, which covers majority of your vendors. There are those certain vendors out there that are integrated with a third-party payment gateway provider, basically. And these cards that you add through here would not be available for them, similar to how it is now. Unfortunately, there's just not a good way around that right now, but it should be noted that you can at least add for the default.
I just want to make a quick comment about that one. Just like anything else with credit cards, in order to add a new card, you have to be on the internet because you're not actually adding that card data to your iPad. You're getting a token representation of it. So just like it is in the sales order, you need to be on the internet to add it there.
And in addition to that, even though you can only add cards for the default gateway, we do display cards that have been added for other gateways on this screen. And if the card has been added for multiple gateways, it's only going to display one time in here. So if you delete it, it will remove it from all of the different gateway types. And something else to keep in mind is that we didn't remove the capability to manage cards from within the sales order, so you're still able to add it as you are today. We just added an additional opportunity to manage these cards and capture them. And actually, based on feedback we got at last year's Evolve conference, we added the ability to delete cards prior to their expiration date. That was something that we heard about several times at last year's Evolve conference. So we have implemented that as well.
Thank you, Derek. All right, September of 2020. So this is an interesting one. I'm just going to talk very briefly about what the problem is with our existing tear sheets, and Derek will talk about what's new about them. So with the way our current tear sheets work, which I'm sure most of you or some of you have found, regardless of how you have your presentation sorted or even your sales order, but let's just talk present product here. Maybe I've added in 50 products and I have it sorted by my supplier, or I have it sorted by the SKU or whatever. Every time I would go to do my tear sheet, it would just have them in the same generic order that they were in, and there was no way for me to change that. So I didn't have any way to customize or cater that to my retailer if I was going to send them a tear sheet.
Yeah, so now tear sheets will organize the displayed products in the order that they appear in the app based on your selections. So we've given you the ability previously, and we've built upon it, but users are able to filter by supplier or catalog, choose whether the items are grouped by supplier. You can sort it by SKU, name, or the sequence that the products were added to presentation. So the sequence is really a nice feature in conjunction with this new add-on. So while it seems like a subtle change, the benefits are extensive. By utilizing the existing filter, grouping, and sorting features, you're able to create more focused and strategically organized presentations to help you drive sales and inform buyers.
And you can even remove some of those items out by using the filter option up on top. You know, you can isolate just a few things or maybe just a single supplier, even though you might have a lot of products in that collection. So this is what I would call a quality of life improvement. And because for the first time, we have introduced more features than we have bugs, or fixed bugs, I should say. Maybe we've entered more bugs, but the idea is that we have given you the ability now to do something that should have probably been out of the box like that, but we're able to go back and correct some things that we know were little, needing some tweaking and getting some improvement. So we're looking forward to those kind of quality of life features in the future.
Awesome, thank you, Keith. And before we move on, I'm going to apologize because I'm human and I totally forgot to introduce our last real guest. So Lily Della Santa at Getz has been super kind to be kind of an early adopter of this new application that we'll be releasing next week. She's one of those agencies that has the need for the 2 different applications. So it was vital that we had somebody that was in that boat to test it. And as an added benefit, she also got to see the credit card screen. But I think she just had a few words she just wanted to share as she has been using it. And I believe she used it in Dallas last week.
Hey everybody, I have been using the side-by-side link for a while now, and the new one has been really fantastic. It's been pretty seamless. It's super easy to go back and forth between the 2 divisions. We have a handful of reps that represent lines from both sides of our division. So on the road and working with customers, it's easy if you're in the middle of an order to go to that other division, pick something back up that you may be working on, and then go right back. The credit card is a complete game changer. I think we can all agree it's the little things at Brandwise that make us happy and change our lives, and that is for sure one of them. And the tear sheet as well. We use tear sheets more and more now, especially this year with everything that's going on. So I can't recommend it enough. If you guys have 2 different divisions and have been using the side-by-side links in the past, this is a complete game changer and a lot less headaches. So thanks, guys.
Thank you, Lily.
Thanks, Lily. All right, Keith, you got 6 minutes, 30 seconds. Go.
All right, I'll try to wrap things up here a little bit. One of the things that we showed last time was a prototype app that we used and developed. And this year, what we wanted to talk about is we wanted the one screen to rule them all. And that was presented. What you're seeing on the right-hand side is from that particular add-on or from that project. And this year, because of that, we delivered collections, and they work pretty much the same way that they did when we demonstrated last year. And we also put them in the order. That was a big bonus. And then we also have the ability to see the sales order history inside the customer management screen. That was something that we were able to work on that will hopefully improve many of your lives. And then we also have the search screen improvement. And you can see here the search screen that's there. It's very similar to what you'll actually get when you get this new version. Now, everything up to this point has been something that we have already put into the app. It's ready to go. As soon as Alex releases it to your corp, you'll actually have all of those features. What we're going to do is we're going to shift gears a little bit, and we're going to show you a new project that we're working on. And this is separated from the code base. This is a totally different project. And what we want to focus in on is the product cell this year. We have some excellent available information, and we have really been able to put those into the different places that, on the screens that you need them. But we've had some problems with that. And one of the problems that we had is we need to unify the cells. Here are 3 different cells that you can see in the app. One's from presentation. It's got a heart instead of a check mark. And you've got check marks in another cell. And then some buttons have quantity buttons and some don't. You have some that show quantity on hand, some that don't show quantity on hand. You have some that show the price, some that don't show the price. So it creates a problem for us in the sense that we have cells that show every bit of information, and you can see that they expand when you need it to. But the functions across each cell is slightly different. And that can have a few problems for us, and that is that it can force people to use or misuse a specific screen because they can see all the stuff they need to see, but maybe they can't do everything they need to do. And so we really want to change that. But in changing that, we do want to try to keep as much consistency with the current design. And we want to remove the quantity popover view. The quantity popover view has served us well for many years now, but it's starting to show its age and it's starting to cause some problems for us. And we've determined some root cause crashers and so forth to needing to make some of these changes. And so one of the things that we want to do is eliminate that as well. Plus, we know how to make cells bigger, so we have some really fun things to show you. What we did though is we looked at the product information overhaul at first as a total redesign. What if we just figure out where all the data goes and what we show and present a grid view versus a list view so the user can have a choice between those two. And we came up with some pretty decent ideas, but those ideas force the users to learn a whole new cell structure. And as we've seen in the past, that isn't the way to go. Most people want less change. And so we've tried to take the familiarity of the scan screen, and that's what you're looking here on the left, is it's more of a list view. Take the familiarity of the scan screen image that has a lot of content, a lot of things built in, and make that the focus. But what we did do is we added some menu bars up at the top, and the little blue arrows are pointing to that. And essentially what they're trying to show you is that we have the ability to switch between a list and a grid view. Then we also figured out a way to make the cell bigger so that you can, when you tap on the quantity button, for instance, have a keypad just pop in. I think last year we showed that the keyboard would actually change and it would be a custom keyboard. Well, this was, I think, a compromise because it was a nice way to keep everything in the app and keep the keyboard minimized as much as possible. A lot of people have told us that when the keyboard's in the way, it really narrows my focus. So that's why we want to use the keypad instead. But you can see also on the left-hand side there's show more options. And right now we're showing the pricing structure. It's hard to see from this vantage point, of course, but it'll be like you get a price break at 12 and at 36, maybe 144, you buy a gross of something. And so those are the kinds of things that you'd be able to tap on. And they're actually buttons. So if you tap on one of those, it will affect the quantity directly. So these are the kind of quality of life type things that we're also trying to introduce. Wherever there's a quantity that's displayed, whether it's past or whatever, that will be something that you can tap on and adjust the quantity to that value. So these are kinds of things that we want to do with our app going forward. This is just pointing out that we're showing more data. But then we have this other option here. And the option that I have here is that we introduced a like mode that doesn't show a lot of information. You know, basically I can go in there like we do in the browse mode and just fall in love with the product, maybe some information about it, but not all the stuff you need to completing the sales. But then we have a shop mode, and a shop mode would be more like, I need to actually start buying this. I need to have all of the quantity on hand information, all of the last buying figures, and all those kinds of things. And so that was interesting, and we definitely thought about that. But then you can see just to the left of that another menu bar that has like a package in it and a heart and all this other stuff. And it became very complex for the user to use this. So what we decided to do is take a slightly different approach. Have all that customization built in, which it already does. On the cell, when we develop this, the cell has all of those things, has all that ability to be customized. But what we did is we decided to still use the the screens approach that we do in the app today, where if you're in Browse, the screen might take on a persona. Think of it that way. It's like when we're in Browse, we just want to fall in love with the product. We don't need a lot of Chrome. We let the image do the talking. And these images are not attractive. These are just basic images to see that. But we also have, as you can notice here, we have a portrait mode and a landscape mode. And we have the ability to have multiple values. So you can kind of quickly scroll through a list of products. And so we want some of that to still be customizable at the user level. But after you've made your selection of all of these things that you've hearted, why don't we go over to a different screen? And we're going to go, and you can see the blue arrows pointing to a selected items screen. And in the selected items screen, you can see the hearted options first. Do you want them? No, take them off. If you take the heart off, it actually disappears from view. It just goes away. If you want to buy it, you press the buy button and it will put it down at the bottom. You can adjust the quantities later and do all the other things that you need to do. But right now you can pick between buying or removing it. And so that's another thing. But as you can see, all the data that you need to be able to make informed decisions about how much to buy and those kind of things now appear here. So this screen shows how in the list mode or the scan screen or even in the order screen, we have the ability to see all of the data that we need to be able to make informed decisions. And as you tap on it and you add the quantity, you can then adjust the quantity with the slide in calculator that comes out, or the keypad, not the calculator, a keypad. But on the left-hand side, you can see that by tipping on these little arrows or chevrons, and they're very difficult to see, they're on the right in this area here, those you can actually just tap down and they'll expand and you can see the data that you need. In this case, I'm showing some quantity on hand. It's available ASAP. But if there were multiple dates and so forth, that would show all those dates. And you could actually pick from the bucket that you want to use. I know a lot of people are going to be wondering how that's all going to work, but we have the ability to pick those buckets and subtract from it. So you'll be able to see that there's 1,000 today, but there might be 2,000 coming down next month. And then we'll have some additional information about the history. Have they purchased this in the past? And if they have, what's the average that they've purchased? What's the last purchase they had? And those will be active. You'll be able to tap on that and adjust your quantity based off of that. And maybe even have an opportunity to upsell a little bit. But we've had in our current app the ability to add the SKU again. Now, there are two primary use cases here, and I'm sure there's plenty more, but the two that I'm going to focus in on is the one where you add the SKU again for the current date, and it's like you buy 15 and we'll give you one free for, you know, in your showroom or something like that. And then we give you, there's another option where you want to buy for a future date. So you actually want 10 now, maybe you want 20 next month and then 30 the following month, or maybe you want to scale it back. You want to buy 30 now, 20 and then 10. Regardless, you can go in there and select a date using the new popover calendar that's there, pick a date, and then each of those individual line items will be aggregated with the product. That's really handy, especially when you're just working with products on a product basis. But again, when you're done with that, and I'd also like to point out that each one of these is managed independent of each other. And if you click on the quantity here, the controller would just pop in with the keypad. And so then when you're done, you can go back into more like our order form mode, where you can break things out by the particular suppliers, by the ship dates, all of those kinds of things, but still have the information necessary. Now, you might say, well, wait a second, some things are missing. How do I delete? And how do I change the ship dates and so forth? Well, at this point, you'd have the ability to change the ship date for the entire order, let's say. So by tapping on that, you would be able to bring up something that would change the ship date. But if you still needed to change the ship date or add the SKU again or any of the other options, by tapping and holding on that, you would actually bring up a menu of options that would allow you to go ahead and continue to do that. So again, we're trying to retain all of the functionality, all of the features, but still maybe guide you in a way that as you get closer to completing the sale, you see less and less things that kind of just get in the way. So that's what we're trying to go for there. The other thing that we're doing is we're embracing all of the current technologies that Apple is providing. Like here's a case where we're showing dark mode and light mode. And then also we're showing the accessibility settings. They're actually at the same height, but you can see that one you can read better than the other. And that's because one's got small text and the other one's got large text. So it is something that we want to be able to have going forward. All right. So with that, we'll turn it back over to Dylan to close out this demonstration, and we'll talk about play for 2120 or 2021, sorry.
Maybe 2120 is what we want to talk about. We'll just skip 2021. Dylan, you're muted, my friend.
Classic me. All right, thank you. All right, I'm going to make this very quick. Just a high level, this is kind of the initiatives we're going to focus on in 2021 in no particular order, just the items that are out there. So we want to start giving you more on-the-go reporting, expanding on our Vision for iPad platform, and adding more enhancements to that existing platform. We want to add more content at the tip of your fingers, expanding on that dynamic dashboard that we covered earlier. It's huge, it's so powerful. So that's something we plan on doing. The continuing of the redesign, as Keith just went through, kind of getting that and probably small pieces of that into the existing app to not make a total drastic change at once. Getting product updates just like product images are without a sync. I mean, how powerful to scan an item, get the updated QOH. You don't have to run a sync just to get the latest information that your vendor uploaded or that your agency imported through the server. Boom, you get it with a scan of the product. I mean, that's powerful.
And just to speak to that just for a second, that the preliminary piece of that's done with Transit, right? So those products that are getting uploaded through Transit, and you'll see how that interacts with the new Reach stuff on the next at 1 o'clock today. But that's already in the cloud and available for Reach instantly. So the idea, as we talked about last year, was okay, we want the Play products to also be able to get that data. So as soon as the supplier pushes data up through Transit, instead of having to do a sync, it would be available immediately. So that's kind of where that. So we're on our way towards that.
Yes, thank you, Todd. So along those lines, also, being able to pull a retailer that's created themselves in Passport, using their email, getting the retailer, getting the shipping address, getting their credit cards that they have in their Passport, all that kind of stuff. Again, just making everything so seamless between all of our Brandwise ecosystem, if you will. And lastly, expanding on collections. Making them shareable. Maybe the back office can manage collections that can't be deleted. Having suppliers be able to create collections and they can put in their best sellers or this and that, and you'll have access to all of that. So those are kind of the high level initiatives. Lastly, if you're not a Brandwise Insider, smash that subscribe button. Become a Brandwise Insider on Facebook. If you don't have Facebook, we have options for you. Text Insiders to 33777. And you will get all the text notifications all about our webinars and all the other awesome stuff that we're covering, especially in this year and years to come. So thank you, everybody, for joining us today. I know it was a long one.
Sorry, let me make one more comment on the insiders to plug it, Dylan, before you do the final thing. All of the stuff that Keith was just showing, all the future stuff. For those of you that are on Insiders, that you kind of get a preliminary look as we start going down some of this design path to give us feedback, which we really are trying to take into account. So it's kind of your platform, but to say, we're thinking about this or we're looking at that, give us, putting it out on the Insiders to get your feedback before we've gone through the process of finalizing this development. So it's sort of your area to look for those type of things and comment on these different things and let us know what you think before we get it developed, because it's always harder to reverse engineer it than to engineer it.
We also, I want to point out too, Todd, that one of the goals that we have by making this actually a separate product is that we can deliver it so that people can actually play with it and give us feedback and actually do some real user testing before we implement it in the app itself. So that's one of our goals. So hopefully in the future, you'll actually see a version that you can download and work with.
Perfect. Great.
Awesome. I want to mention one thing too, Dylan. You did a really good job in terms of highlighting what the Brandwise Insiders are. Also, if you text that number, that will also get you those email notifications as well. So to anyone like in Canada, I know sometimes we've had some issues when you try to text Insiders that you can't get the text updates. That will opt you into the emails too. So if you're subscribing that way, let us know, or feel free to just email info@Brandwise. And then Dylan, one question that came up just because there was a little bit of confusion around when you said you're removing the catalog button. Can you just kind of clarify? Because some people thought that meant that flip books and all of that are going away entirely.
Yes. So yeah, sorry. So to clarify on that, kind of moving towards what Keith just showed, we want to get everything more seamless. And to do that, we have to start getting more of the functionality in one screen. So the new search screen allows you to go into the digital catalog just like you would from the catalogs screen. So we're not removing that now. When you get this upgrade next week, the catalogs button will still be there and you can still access the catalogs there. I was just stressing that I would start to try to use the digital catalogs through the search screen because that's where it will live going forward. So in a future release, sometime 2021, that catalogs tab inside of the order just won't be there anymore. But your digital catalogs will still be accessible from the search screen.
Yeah, the idea is to remove the extra steps, not remove the digital catalogs. So that's what that will do. It makes it very seamless in one screen. So at some point, we'll just remove that extra tab that's not necessary, but not the catalogs. They'll always be part of it.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. I know we've had a lot of enthusiasm and excitement about that side-by-side upgrade and a lot of people that are just itching to get their hands on it right away. But thank you guys so much for your time today and everyone that was answering questions on the back end here. I think we got through everything else. So if you guys have anything else that you wanted to cover before we sign off for the day, or not the day.
But thank you to everybody that joined. So yeah.
All right. Thanks, guys. You did a great job. Bye.